A guardrail vibrates as fireworks go off somewhere in the distance. And inside the White House, someone quietly says, "Copy." That's the first thing people don't expect. New Year's Eve outside is loud, glittery chaos. Inside the White House, the closer you get to midnight, the quieter the building often becomes. Like the entire place is holding a secret and refusing to spill it until the exact right moment. And here's the contradiction that hooks you. This is a home with holiday decorations and warm lights, but it's also a 24/7 machine built around schedules, security, and readiness. It doesn't get to relax. It gets to transition. So tonight, we're not doing a list of facts. We're doing a walkthrough. A real-time journey through New Year's Eve inside the White House, room by room, hour by hour, following the people you never see and the tiny details that make the whole building feel alive. Because once you know what's happening behind those windows, you'll never watch a White House shot on TV the same again. 6:33 p.m. The holiday glow is real and completely unreal. At this hour, the White House looks like it's wearing December like a designer jacket. The public rooms are still dressed for the season. Trees, lights, ribbons, ornaments, the kind of decor that makes you whisper even if you're alone, because it feels like you've walked into a museum that might scold you. And the scale is honestly ridiculous. The White House holiday decorating effort has involved more than 300 volunteers, 83 Christmas trees, and about 165,000 lights, plus thousands of ornaments and feet of ribbon. That's not putting up decorations. That's a full-on seasonal takeover. But here's what makes it feel eerie in the best way. While the rooms look like a holiday card, the building's heartbeat still sounds like work. You'll see a staff member move through a hallway like they've got invisible rails guiding them. You'll hear footsteps, not the sloppy stampede you get at a normal New Year's party. And you'll realize something fast. This place is festive, but it's never casual. 6:51 p.m. A house with a user manual. Now picture this. You're standing in the White House and someone tells you, "Meet me by the west staircase." You smile like you understand, but inside you're thinking, there are multiple staircases? Yes, multiple. The official White House description reads like a real estate listing written by someone trying to flex. 132 rooms, 35 bathrooms, and 6 levels in the residence. Then it keeps going. 412 doors, 147 windows, 28 fireplaces, 8 staircases, and 3 elevators. That's not a home. That's a small city where every hallway has a job. And on New Year's Eve, that size changes the story. Because celebrations don't take over a building like this. They happen in pockets. Meanwhile, everything else keeps moving quietly, professionally, like the place has been trained not to get swept away by emotion. Even the kitchen is built like a secret weapon. The White House kitchen can serve dinner to as many as 140 guests and hors d'oeuvres to more than 1,000. So while America is thinking, do we have enough chips? The White House is thinking, we can feed 1,000 people if the night suddenly becomes history. 7:08 p.m. The invisible cast arrives. Here's where the night becomes a movie because every good story has characters. But the main characters tonight aren't the ones you see on TV. It's the resident staff, the people who can make a room look untouched after it's been used, the people who move objects without noise, like they've mastered the ancient art of don't make the room feel busy. It's the culinary staff, timing everything so the night feels smooth. It's the maintenance and operations crews, making sure nothing breaks at the exact moment the whole world is watching. And it's the protective teams, turning the building into a calm, controlled space even while the city outside gets louder. The Secret Service describes its role safeguarding places like the White House complex. And they note something that feels especially relevant on New Year's Eve. Their K-9 team provides coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week throughout the White House complex. So the building can be glowing and festive while staying ready. That's the vibe. Holiday lights on top, quiet discipline underneath. 7:26 p.m. The hallway rule nobody says out loud. If you could eavesdrop on the building itself, it would probably say one sentence over and over. Don't improvise. Most New Year's Eves are made of improvising. Someone shows up late, someone forgets drinks. Somebody's playlist turns into sad acoustic covers at 11:12 p.m. Nobody knows how. It just happens. The White House doesn't do that. It does routines. It does zones. It does controlled movement. That's why it feels so calm inside. Calm isn't a mood here. Calm is a system. And here's a detail that makes that system feel very real. Working Dog magazine reports that every visitor to the White House is screened by a dog. But most people don't realize it because the dogs work behind a Louvre screen. So you could be walking down a corridor thinking, wow, I'm really here. And behind what looks like a decorative vent, a highly trained dog is basically running a silent background check with its nose. That same report says every vehicle entering the complex gets searched by a dog, and the average explosives detection canine searches more than 7,000 vehicles per year. That's the White House in one image: holiday sparkle and a dog quietly making sure the sparkle doesn't come with surprises. 7:49 p.m. The kitchen runs like a clock. If the White House were a body, the kitchen would be the heartbeat. Because food is where a holiday becomes real. It's warmth, smell, timing, and that cozy sense of this is a moment. But the White House kitchen isn't just cooking. It's coordinating. It's anticipating. It's building flexibility into the evening. Remember that number, hors d'oeuvres for more than 1,000? That means the kitchen is always ready for scale, even if tonight is quiet. So at this hour, while the city outside is warming up for midnight, the building inside is warming up in its own way by making sure everything is smooth enough that nobody feels the machinery behind it. It's like good stage production. If you notice it, something has gone wrong. 8:14 p.m. The outside world gets loud. The inside world gets softer. This is where the White House becomes oddly relatable. Because the closer you get to midnight, the more every home starts to feel like a waiting room for time. People keep checking the clock. Conversations start looping. Someone asks, "Is it almost time?" for the 5th time. Inside the White House, the waiting happens too, but it's quieter, and it has an extra layer. There are private moments, the residence side, where the first family might actually be in a normal human mood. Eating, talking, watching something, doing that end-of-year reflecting thing we all do when we're pretending we're not emotional. And there's the work side, the part that stays alert because it has to. Communications, protection, operations. It's a building that can be tender and serious at the same time, which sounds impossible until you realize it's had centuries to practice. 8:42 p.m. The real reason the White House feels different tonight. Here's the wow thought that makes this night click. Most places celebrate New Year's by letting go. The White House celebrates New Year's by staying steady. Even the smallest facts reinforce that. The White House requires 570 gallons of paint to cover its outside surface. That sounds like trivia until you picture the message behind it. This place is constantly maintained so it can look stable, feel stable, and represent stability even when everything else changes. So New Year's Eve inside isn't about new year, new me. It's more like new year, same responsibility. 9:07 p.m. A tiny time portal hiding in plain sight. Okay, quick detour, because this one is too good not to use. The White House holiday season is a performance, and like all performances, it has props. One of the most famous props is the gingerbread White House. Because yes, even the most serious building in America has a sugar version of itself sitting there looking smug. The Associated Press has reported on these displays being made with hundreds of pounds of ingredients. Imagine explaining that to someone in 1799. We built a symbolic house of government, and then we built a dessert replica of it, and we display it during the holidays. It's the perfect White House detail because it's sweet, absurd, and oddly meaningful. It reminds you the building has a human side, still, under all the formality. 9:33 p.m. The night starts tightening. Around this time, the outside world gets louder and looser. Inside, the White House starts doing the opposite. Not because something is wrong, but because the last stretch of the night is when you want everything to be exactly where it should be. This is when hallways feel a little more controlled, when movement is more deliberate, when rooms feel like they're being held in a ready state. And underneath it all is the same truth. This is a workplace that can't ever fully shut down. The White House Communications Agency exists to support presidential communications, and the Department of Defense recruiting page describes WHCA's mission as providing assured information services so the president can communicate under any condition. So while you're sending Happy New Year texts with typos, this building is wired for the kind of communication that has to work even when everything else is chaotic. That contrast is part of the magic. Your year turns with confetti. Their year turns with readiness. 10:11 p.m. The calm before the calm. Here's where the story gets cinematic. The White House is lit up. Holiday decor still glows in the public rooms. The city outside is building toward midnight like a wave rising. Inside, the building doesn't speed up. It smooths out. You can almost feel it. Fewer loose ends, fewer unnecessary movements. It's like the house is closing tabs in its brain, getting ready for the moment. And if you're thinking, so do they party? Sometimes there may be small gatherings depending on the year and the president's plans. But the defining feature isn't the party, it's the control. It's the way the building keeps a steady heartbeat no matter what night it is. 10:47 p.m. The year turns in a place built for time. At this hour, the rest of America is getting sentimental. People start talking about "this year taught me," and somebody always says, "we should do this more often." Inside the White House, sentiment exists, but it's quieter. It's tucked inside a building that's literally designed around time. Schedules, briefings, doors opening on cue, meals arriving on cue, shifts changing on cue. And now the clock is moving toward 11 o'clock. The next part of the night is where everything gets even more interesting. The last hour, when the outside world reaches peak chaos, and the White House becomes almost unnervingly calm. Right up until midnight hits and the building performs its most impressive trick of all, resetting itself in minutes without anyone seeing the hands that did it. 11:03 p.m. The house tightens like a drawstring. Now we're in the last hour. Outside, the city is doing what cities do on New Year's Eve, getting louder, looser, and more convinced that a countdown is a personality trait. Inside the White House, the vibe goes the opposite direction. It's not panic, it's precision. You can feel it in the way the building narrows. Fewer people drift, fewer doors open just because. The easy movement from earlier in the evening becomes more deliberate, like everyone is quietly moving into their correct positions on a chessboard. And here's a detail that changes how you picture it. The White House fence encloses 18 acres of land. 18 acres is not a yard. That's a whole world inside the fence. So when the city outside starts acting like midnight is a sporting event, the White House can tighten its perimeter and turn inward, the way a ship might close hatches when the ocean gets rough. This is the moment when New Year's Eve stops feeling like a holiday and starts feeling like what it really is in this building, a shift change in the world's most photographed workplace. 11:17 p.m. The security history you can feel in the floor. Most people think White House security is something modern, cameras, fences, tech. But the idea of guarding this place like it matters has been getting refined for a long time. The U.S. Secret Service notes that on September 14, 1922, President Warren G. Harding created the White House Police Force as part of the effort to safeguard the White House and the officials inside. That organization is part of the lineage of today's Uniform Division, meaning the calm control you feel around this building isn't just a vibe. It's an institution with 100 years of muscle memory. So in this last hour, the building doesn't get tense. It gets steady. It leans on routines that were built for nights exactly like this. Nights when the outside world is unpredictable. 11:45 p.m. The White House Christmas doesn't happen, it's engineered. Quick detail that makes the holiday mood feel even wilder. The whole Christmas atmosphere didn't appear because somebody had spare time and a Pinterest board. The White House has actually put out official calls for volunteer decorator applications during the season, with requirements like being 18 or older and applying individually. And reporting on the decorating experience describes how volunteer applications often open around August, with decorating taking place in late November. So the holiday glow you're seeing on New Year's Eve has been planned for months. It's the most White House thing imaginable. Even the coziness has a timeline. Which is funny because outside right now, half the country is making decisions like, should I go out at 11:45 p.m.? Inside, the building is like, we prepared for this in summer. 11:59 p.m. The year flips in a room you'll never see. Here it is, the last minute. Outside, this is when everyone holds their phone up, even though they'll never watch that video again. Someone starts the countdown too early. Someone starts it too late. Chaos is part of the charm. Inside, the White House doesn't do charm by chaos. If the president is in the residence, the moment could be a quiet toast, a few words, maybe a look at the TV coverage, something human and small. Not because the moment is small, but because the building is not built for public chaos. And that's the strange emotional punch. In the most powerful house in America, midnight can be intimate. Not because the building is empty, because the building is disciplined. 12:03 a.m. The outside world peaks. The inside world moves on. 3 minutes after midnight, the city is still going. People are still cheering, fireworks still crack. Somebody's still hugging a friend and promise they'll do better this year, like it's a contract. Inside the White House, the building has already begun its most impressive trick. It starts turning the moment into mourning. Not harshly, not like a party killer, just smoothly, like a machine that knows celebrations are allowed, but readiness is mandatory. This is when the unseen work becomes the story. You don't get the messy New Year's Eve aftermath in the White House the way you do in normal homes. You get a reset, a quiet return to ready, rooms returning to their baseline, people moving carefully. The holiday glow stays, but the building's attention shifts forward. 12:34 a.m., the communications thread that never breaks. By now, the outside celebration is drifting into that fuzzy phase where people begin to realize it's cold and the night is long. Inside, the building is still connected, literally. The White House Communications Agency's mission is to provide assured global information services so the president, vice president, and others, as directed, can communicate with anyone under any condition. That line matters on New Year's Eve because it explains why the White House never truly goes off duty. In your world, the worst thing that happens if your phone dies is you miss a group chat joke. In this world, communication is part of the job itself. So even when the building is quiet, it's quietly plugged into the rest of the planet. That's why the White House feels different after midnight. The party doesn't take over because the infrastructure can't stop being infrastructure. 12:52 a.m. The building gets smaller without shrinking. Here's a feeling you only get in big places late at night. The building starts to feel smaller. Not physically, this place is still enormous, but emotionally it folds inward. Fewer spaces are active. Certain corridors go still. The sound changes. Even the air feels different when fewer rooms are in motion. It's like a city after a festival. The lights are still up, but the energy concentrates into a few points. The people who are still working, the systems that are still running, and the quiet routines that keep the whole thing from becoming chaos. And this is where you remember, New Year's Eve is loud for most people because it's permission to let go. The White House doesn't let go. It holds steady. 1:11 a.m. The first morning of the year is already being built. At 1:11, a normal home is negotiating leftovers and couch naps. In the White House, the first morning of the year is already being prepared like it's an event with a schedule. This is the core truth that makes the whole night go viral when people realize it. The new year arrives here the way the presidency arrives every day, through continuity. The year flips, the building absorbs the moment, and then the machine keeps running. And the holiday glow makes that feel even more cinematic, because the Christmas lights and trees are still there, quietly watching the place return to ready, as if December itself is lingering in the doorway going, "Are you sure you don't want one more festive moment?" The building's answer is always the same, "Not yet, we've got work." 1:36 a.m. What this night really tells you. So what happens inside the White House on New Year's Eve? You get a rare mix you don't see anywhere else. A private human midnight, inside a public symbol, wrapped in systems that don't get to sleep. It's not the loudest New Year's Eve in America. It's the steadiest. And that's why it's fascinating. While the whole country celebrates change, the White House quietly performs the thing it's built to represent: stability. So the next time you watch fireworks explode on a screen and see the White House glowing in the background, remember what's really happening behind those windows. Not chaos, not a giant secret party, just a calm machine holding the night together while the country celebrates outside. If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at how the White House really operates on New Year's Eve, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into what happens inside the world's most fascinating places and systems, especially the ones that look simple from the outside but are insanely complex behind closed doors. And drop a comment with the next inside you want to see. A major airport control tower, a cruise ship at sea, or a factory where fireworks are tested before they ever hit the sky.